On August 6th, 2021, there was a moment I won't soon forget. Early first quarter in the Rough Riders season opener, Cody Fajardo takes the snap from under center, turns around, hands it off to William Powell, who powers into the end zone for a good old-fashioned Russian touchdown from just 2 yards out. A play you see hundreds of times throughout a football season. But meanwhile, in southwest Saskatchewan, after I finished celebrating the touchdown with my family, a rush of emotions hit me and I broke down crying in relief because CFL football was back. It was finally back. In 2020, the CFL had to delay the start of their season and eventually cancel it because of, 2020 happened. It was heartbreaking. And there was a lot of questions around whether or not the CFL would survive. Because despite being a professional sports league and despite being fairly popular in Canada, especially in Saskatchewan, it's not overly popular on the level, say, the NFL is. And that leads to there being relatively tight margins. So there were legitimate fears the CFL may shut down. Now, through a lot of fundraising and a lot of support from the fans, such as the fans going out and supporting a campaign the CFL ran called the Grey Cup Fan Base, where CFL fans could pay a certain amount of money to get their name on another version of the Grey Cup. The Grey Cup is one of the oldest trophies in North American sports. So to have your name on it in any capacity, even if it's just another version of it, that is a tremendous opportunity, and tons of people jumped at it, and for good reason. Through campaigns like those, the CFL managed to stay afloat. Come 2021, things had started to get back under control in terms of the pandemic and things. However, there was still no guarantee we'd see CFL football that season. But eventually, the CFL announced a shortened season. The season would be just 16 weeks instead of the usual 21. And it was a late start to the season, starting in August as opposed to June. But to so many people, myself included, none of that mattered. It didn't matter, especially in the moment your team scores their first touchdown of the season. I have lived and breathed Canadian football since I was a kid. To have it return and to have my favorite team, the Saskatchewan Rough Riders, my home province boys, score on their first possession of the new season, it felt really special, and a lot of emotions just overwhelmed me. The CFL means a lot to people in Canada, and I hope some of the stories I share in this episode will help explain just how much it means to a lot of people up here. Hello everybody, my name is Jackie and welcome to Prairie Sports Talk, the podcast where we talk about sports that directly impact the Canadian Prairie. And welcome to the CFL Kickoff special. Today I am sharing some stories that I hope will illustrate why the CFL means so much to me. Don't worry, there will be a normal Prairie Sports Talk episode coming out at 1 p.m. today. That is 2 hours after this episode goes live. Okay, let's get into the next story. In 2016, the Saskatchewan Rough Riders said goodbye to their old stadium, Old Faithful, Mosaic Stadium. Now, to give you some context on how old Mosaic Stadium was, at the time in 2016, the CFL was 58 years old. In 2016, the Saskatchewan Rough Riders the second oldest team in the CFL, were 104 years old. When Mosaic Stadium closed down, it was 109 years old. It was an iconic stadium. So the Rough Riders wanted to bid it farewell in the most fitting possible way. A year-long celebration of Mosaic Stadium. The Saskatchewan Rough Riders are a team that is beloved in Saskatchewan. So many people across the province have so many tremendous memories, so many meaningful memories related to the Rough Riders, and the vast majority of them happened in Mosaic Stadium. So naturally, as part of the farewell season, the Rough Riders launched their Mosaic Moments. These were videos of people sharing their moments that became memories at Mosaic Stadium. And when my family went up to a game that season, I got the chance to make a video for one of them as well. And luckily enough, I ended up in the video compilation. If you would like to see the video compilation, it is linked in the description down below. The video of me retelling the story is also linked in the description down below. The full Mosaic Moments channel is also linked in the description. Now, although there is already a video on the internet of me sharing my Mosaic moment, I feel like I could have worded it a lot better. 15-year-old me did not really know how to tell a story in a very coherent way. So, in 2024, I want to attempt to retell this story. Again, the original will be in the description down below if you want to watch me stumble over my words. In 2015, in a game against the Toronto Argonauts, early into the fourth quarter, CFL legend in the making, Kevin Glenn drops back. The pocket quickly collapses around him. As the pocket collapses, he steps up into a gap he sees. He takes a breath, throws it deep downfield. Young Riders receiver Ryan Smith sprinting full speed down the field. He's in tight coverage with the Argos defensive back. Smith starts to slow up as he's tracking the ball. He jumps, and whether it's because of incidental contact from the Argos receiver or maybe he just jumped at a weird angle, Smith starts to tilt backwards. However, he keeps his focus. He gets two hands on the ball and pulls it into his chest. Lands square on his shoulders. Tremendous catch. There was a brief moment where he was somewhat slow to get up, but he would be alright, and that is truly the best catch I've ever seen in person. As I put it in the original telling of the story.
I was just ecstatic, lost my mind, because that's my memory.
Over the years, I have been to a lot of Rider games, but none of them compared to the atmosphere I felt when I got to attend a Winnipeg Blue Bombers Saskatchewan Roughriders game in Regina on Labor Day, the holy grail of regular season Canadian football. This is one of the most intense matchups in the season. You've got provincial rivals clashing Labor Day weekend. Labor Day weekend, it's all about rivalries in CFL. I walk into Mosaic Stadium. It's a fair ways before kickoff. The stadium's already roaring. It's almost packed already. The crowd is ready to go. You see a sea of green and white, and just sprinkled in there are a few dots of blue and gold. The teams are trying to keep their cool during their individual warm-ups. I walk down to my seat, and I see something peculiar. I see a man in a Calgary Stampeders jersey. and this man was already pretty drunk when he got to the game. Now, before I continue on, I want to emphasize at no point did I think this man posed any danger to myself, to him, or anyone around us. But he had opinions on everything about the CFL. And his opinions could very much be summed up to him thinking Calgary is better than everyone at everything in football. And this guy trash talked a lot. He trash talked Rider fans, he trash talked Blue Bomber fans. I'm pretty sure he started trash talking Edmonton at some point. I know Edmonton and Calgary were playing the next day, but Edmonton and Calgary had nothing to do with this game. And it's not like he was just dishing it out but couldn't take it. More than a few times, myself and other fans, we had clever retorts to him. And a few times he chuckled at them because he must have thought they were funny or something. At one point, he saw this little girl walking down the stairs with Rough Rider pom-poms in her hair, green and white eye black on her face, popcorn, she's got her Rider jersey on. He gets his attention. Hey, little girl, Riders suck! She looks at him, thinks for a few moments before blowing a raspberry at him and happily continuing down the stairs like nothing happened. That guy just sat there, confused, and just seemingly bewildered by what just happened. As the game went on, it became more and more obvious the Rough Riders were going to win. And as we got to the closing stages of the game, the guy stood up, somewhat uneven, turns around. Y'all know I was just joking all game, right? Y'all rock. Riders, Bombers, y'all are amazing. Have a good day, everyone. And he stumbles a few steps towards the stairs, and he turns around again, looks back at us. Don't worry, everyone. I called an Uber. I am not driving tonight. I'm drunk. I'm not an idiot. Walks away. That was that. Riders go on to win the game. First one at New Mosaic Stadium. And honestly, despite it being a historic win for the Riders, because it was their first one in their new stadium, their first Labor Day win in their new stadium, I mostly remember this game because of this drunk weirdo in front of me who just trash talked everyone. And honestly, I wouldn't change it for the world. The CFL has such a tight-knit community because it is a relatively small fan base compared to the big four sports, MLB, NHL, NBA, and NFL. And we all look out for each other. Yes, the rivalries are intense up here, but at the same time, I think almost all the fans and all the players and everyone involved with the CFL, I think we all hold some form of respect for one another. And that gives us the opportunity to have moments like the moment this drunk Stampeder fan led to for myself, a bunch of Rider fans, and a few Bomber fans. And that's something that I think is really special about the CFL. And it's something I wouldn't change for the world. A few years back, an uncle who I barely knew for the majority of my life moved in with my family for a couple months because he had fallen on hard times. And at the time, I was spending the summer trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. So I spent a lot of time around the house. And when he didn't have things to do in the city, naturally he would spend a lot of time around the house as well. And this led to him and I finally getting to know one another. And one thing we really bonded over was a mutual love of the CFL and the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. Him and I would have conversations that would span over the course of a day, 2, even a week or more, where him and I would just discuss the Rough Riders, how they were doing, what they need to improve on, what's working well, who's not quite meshing with the team well. And it really meant a lot to me to get to bond with him over the summer. Watching games with him was really fun, and it means a lot to me, especially because a few months later, after he had gotten back onto his feet, he ended up passing away. So that summer I got to spend with him and bond over the CFL. That really means a lot to me. And it's something that has only made the CFL more important to me. It's one of my fondest memories, and I'm so glad I got to spend that summer with him, and I'm so glad we were able to bond over the CFL. But that is everything I have for you guys in this special. If you enjoyed it and you're on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. If you're on Spotify, be sure to follow the 13th Man Podcast Network. Remember, there is a normal episode of Prairie Sports Talk coming out in just a couple hours. But until then, stay safe, stay strong, you got this. And this is Jackie for Prairie Sports Talk, signing off.